Hello, my name is Lynn Brampton Lidkey, and I'm the Youth and Family Coordinator at St. Andrew's Presbyterian Church in Markham. And this is Last Week This Week, the video segment where we retell the youth message just in case you missed it. And this is the youth message for February the 16th. On February the 16th, we started out our youth message with 3 audio clips. And I'm going to play them for you now. And as you're listening, I want to see if you can guess, just like we did on the 16th. So here's the first one.
Paw Patrol will be there on the double whenever there's a problem round Adventure Bay.
Clearly, it's given away in the song. That was Paw Patrol. And everybody who was under the age of 5 knew that that was Paw Patrol. Then it got a little tougher. We moved on to...
Oh, I don't know why, but I've always loved the idea of summer and sun and all things hot.
Olaf from Frozen. I mean, how can you miss that one? It's hilarious. A snowman that loves summer. Yeah, that's going to work out well for him. And then there was our last one. Really tough. Not everybody knew it. So let's see if you can get it quite quickly. Now, if you guessed Darth Vader, you would be correct. That is Darth Vader taking a nap. So clearly you're really great at recognizing famous voices. But if I said to you, could you recognize an animal just from its sound? Like, what animal says moo? Well, that's a cow. And what about an animal that says honk? Well, that's a goose. And what about an animal that says meow? Well, that's a cat. Or how about bah? Well, that would be a sheep. There are many types of voices all over the world, and we become very familiar with the voices that we hear, like from our parents and from our teachers and from our friends. And recognizing familiar voices starts when we're actually babies. Did you know that a newborn baby will turn its head when it hears the sound of its mother or father? And I used to work at a place with newborns, and we used to have fun with this all the time. We would hold a baby, and we would, as the staff, we would talk to the baby and say all kinds of wonderful, loving things to the baby, like you're beautiful and you're new and you're an awesome creation. But as soon as the mom or the dad started talking, the baby's head would actually turn towards their voice and away from ours. So we know our parents' voices from the very, very early moments of our life. And in Bible times, we also talk about how animals know the voices of the people around them as well. So in the biblical times, shepherds would bring their flocks together with other shepherds to a place where they could eat grass and drink water. And all of these flocks would get mixed up, and you'd begin to wonder, well, how are they going to tell whose sheep is whose? But when it was time to leave the area, the shepherd would go to the hill and he would call his sheep, and the sheep would recognize his voice, and they would all separate out into the different flocks, and they would follow the right shepherd home. In John chapter 10, verses 1 to 10, Jesus uses the example of himself as the shepherd. And he says, he calls his sheep by name and he leads them out. And when he has brought out all in his name, he goes ahead of them, and the sheep follow him because they know his voice. And Jesus tells us that he's the good shepherd, and he is our caregiver. And when we hear his voice through the words written in the Bible, we know that Jesus is the one who is leading us. So although we don't hear the sound of his voice with his ears, as we study the Bible and become more familiar with what Jesus has said, and we learn to recognize it, and we know the truth of his words in our hearts. And that was the youth message for February the 16th. Until we meet again next time, this was Last Week This Week.